I have made my feelings known for years about hazing. Everybody knows. I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I crossed April 27th, 1989, pledging at Texas A&M University, Pi Omicron chapter. In April, it'll mark 38 years since I joined Alpha Phi Alpha. 36 years, I'm sorry, 36 years. 2018, 20-year-old Tyler Hilliard, young man, promising young man, died as a result of a violent hazing ritual, and he was pledging my fraternity. I had an Omega who hit me up when we covered the story of the hazing death at Southern University, and a brother told me, that's not right. You went on I went on ABC News, and he said, that's not right. You were wearing your Alpha shirt. And I said, I wore it that day because I wanted them to understand that I am going to speak against this at all times. This young man was pledging at University of California, Riverside. And we did the story when it happened, and it was tragic. And I've made perfectly clear that there's no way in hell, I don't care whether you're talking about HBCU or PWI, that black parents should be sending their kids to college and they come home in a body bag. I've made it clear whether you Alpha Phi Alpha or Kappa Alpha Psi or Omega Psi Phi or Sigma Phi Beta Sigma, or if you are an iota, I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're in a band. I don't care if it's a drill team. I don't care if it's a football team. How in the hell can we talk about building brotherhood if it leads to someone's death? This brother will never get an opportunity to celebrate a 36-year anniversary. Because of the actions of those individuals, he's dead. His parents believed in accountability, and so as a monument to him, they helped to create a new law to hold colleges, hear what I said, hold the universities accountable for hazing incidents. There's a law called Tyler's Law. It expands existing laws in California, allowing students who have been injured in hazing rituals to actually sue the universities. Joining us now is Myeasha Kimble. She is Tyler Hilliard's mother. Attorneys Toni Jaramilla, Christa Ramey, both from California. Myeasha, certainly my condolences for you. No mother, no father should have to send their child off to school and they choose to pledge and then they come home deceased. When did you decide that, we got to do more than just grieve for our child?
That was decided after the initial grieving period. I knew I wanted to do more, but I didn't know where to begin. And when my attorney, Toni, who's with us now, brought this to my attention and asked me if I would want to be a part of it, of course, I jumped at the chance to be involved in it, to hopefully change, the trajectory of not, no parent sending their child off. Every time I speak about it, I get so emotional, but I just wanted to make sure no other parents had to deal with what me and Tyler's father had to deal with.
Toni,
Yeah.
there have been cases all across the country.
Yes.
Whether we're talking about historically black fraternities, white fraternities, sororities, bands, and you name it. We've seen laws passed other places as well. We've seen people go to prison. But this is unique. How many other states have passed laws that hold the institution accountable beyond the fraternity, sorority, or the guilty organization?
Right. I believe that Tyler's Law is first in California, is my understanding. And I wanted to first give credit to Christa Ramey. She was going to be here with us, but she unfortunately was, the timing was not right. She's at her brother's wedding, so she couldn't be here. But I wanted to at least give her the full credit for actually being the advocate with Assemblymember Chris Holden at the California Capitol regarding Tyler's Law. It is to hold schools, colleges accountable for hazing and not doing enough to prevent hazing. Because how it was prior to when this law came into effect, and this is what we were dealing with in Myeasha's case with Tyler's, with the wrongful death case of Tyler, is that we were having trouble holding the university, he went to UC Riverside, accountable, because before this law, they can just simply say, well, we didn't know that hazing was happening. A lot of hazing happens at the, thick of night, right? Off campus. But these are organizations, whether it's fraternities or sororities or even sports teams that are doing hazing outside of the campuses. And so that's how universities were able to say, we knew nothing about it, even though we sponsor these organizations at our schools. And so we shouldn't be responsible for a death like Tyler. So this will change that, because universities now, you could sue them and they can't just like stick their heads in the sand, right? They have to have measures to protect students, hotlines, training, educational announcements regarding, what hazing is and how you can prevent it and how to report it. And then they would have an obligation to take action. And if this law had been in place, I think, we would have, hopefully it doesn't happen to other parents and other children and other students.
And look, I mean, the reality is, again, I've pledged people. There's a process. Organizations, they have risk assessment. You have to go through that actual training. You have to actually sign various things as well. But there are things universities can do. Universities can mandate that things can happen only on campus. They can mandate only in certain hours. They can actually do those things. They can even mandate that advisors to a chapter must be present at all times. And now you're also holding them accountable. And so there are more things that can be done. Myeasha, have y'all heard from other parents? Have you heard of any universities or other groups out there saying, hey, that we appreciate this here? I'm just curious what the response has been since this law was passed.
Me personally, since the law was passed, no one has reached out to me in regards to things that universities can do to help, to mitigate other students being injured or dying due to hazing.
Toni?
Well, one of the things that this law required, though, is that the Department of Education by mid-2025, to be in effect in 2026, is that they are supposed to provide a anti-hazing, model policy. And so that's one of the affirmative things that this law required, where they would provide educational materials to not just students, but faculty, staff, administrators, come up with, remedies and tools to make sure that there's some, strong protections for students. So that's one of the positive things regarding this, anti-hazing policy. As far as schools coming out and reaching out to us, like Myeasha said, none have, but we do expect that they comply with the law and put things out there for the public to follow, and for universities and schools to follow, so that we don't have any more tragedies. And sadly, we heard that there has been other tragedies just shortly after this passage took place.
So I think back to the Crown Act, Myeasha. It was first passed in California, and then efforts were made to try to do it on the federal level in other states. Is it your goal for this to become federal law?
I would love for this to become federal law because I'm sure you've heard that there was another death about a week or two ago. And so, of course, that wasn't in California. I don't know if it was Texas or.
No, it was actually, we covered extensively. It was a young man, Caleb, who was in the band at Southern University in Baton Rouge.
Okay, yes. So I would love for this law to become, federal, so it can hit all states. Well, this is a problem. It's a growing problem. You would think at this day and age that we're not having students being injured or dying due to hazing. They should be uplifting their communities.
Well, unfortunately, what you have is, you have organizations that have put in strict procedures, all sorts of policies, legal ramifications, but what you have are individuals, 18, 19, 20, 21, who still have a mentality that, well, I went through it, I survived it, so therefore I'm going to do the exact same thing. And what I have been saying, this is also what requires other members of fraternities and sororities or whatever to say, no, you're not going to bring that nonsense to us. It is something that is evil, that absolutely needs to end. And that's why I've absolutely supported if somebody is busted hazing. I get people talking about brothers in the criminal justice system. Those are folks for me that need to go to prison. Because there are people I know who were not killed, but I was talking to one individual, and this guy pledged 30 plus years ago, and to this day has significant medical injuries as a result of what he actually went through, and his life has been completely compromised. So I don't have a problem with those folks going to prison because the actions are unnecessary and there are rules against them. And that's why the laws are critically important as well.
Yes. And Roland, I would just like to say, sometimes I read the comments, and not saying your comments, but just on hazing incidents, period. And some people in the comments, they make statements such as, oh, these kids, they want to belong to something. That wasn't the case of Tyler. He didn't have a sense of wanting to just belong. He wanted to uplift his community. He wanted to build businesses and have them thrive for people that look just like him. So he wanted to make a difference in the community, and he loved what it stood for.
Right. And that's exactly what I made. Listen, my first convention was 1989. I pledged April. The convention was 3 months later. And I remember standing up at the convention, going hard against hazing. And that way, so even brothers in my chapter who were like, dog, you got to go so hard? Hell yeah, I do. Again, I was in the frat 3 months. I didn't care. And look, there are people today, people like, dude, man, do you have to be that hard? You damn right. Because I think the year before I pledged, I think it was 1988, a young brother got hit in the chest, pledged alpha in Morehouse, died. And I'm like, you damn right. Somebody has to have the guts to say it should not happen. And you have to say that even to somebody who you call a brother. Absolutely.
And one of the sad things I just wanted to mention was so sad about this case was that a lot of the brothers could have come forward and stood up for Tyler and explain and reveal what happened. Because like I said, the hazing takes place in the thick of night and under, outside of campuses. So there's no like adults supervising or doing anything like that. And what was so sad is that, trying to prove that this stuff happened and did happen to Tyler, none of his so-called brothers came out and say, yeah, that's what happened. And this is, so sad. And
right, because the if there is a blue wall in law enforcement, then there is a wall when it comes to D9. Everybody's real bold when it comes to hazing, then all of a sudden they clam up when something happens. The allegations in Louisiana are after they hit Caleb in the chest. They literally changed his clothes before dropping him off at the hospital. He died. That kid's life could have been saved, but they were more concerned about protecting their image and trying to cover up what they did than trying to save his life. And so those are the things that happen. And so it has to be called out. And again, if folks are sent to prison because of their actions, well, guess what? You don't want to go to prison? Don't haze. It is not that hard.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. And stand up for your, brothers or sisters or teammates, when this comes, and we have to hold people accountable and hold organizations accountable and hold colleges accountable for what's happened. What we rely on are witnesses, and you owe it to your fellow brother, sister, teammate to tell the truth as to what happened.
Indeed, indeed. Congratulations on getting this law passed. Unfortunately, it was done under such awful circumstances. And again, Myeasha, to you and your husband and your family, certainly condolences go out.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. The point there, Greg, I want to start with you about the protection. I mean, I literally had people hit me up, and they were like, "Yo, man, you had to go so hard. You'd have to wear your letters if it had happened. If it happened to an alpha, you wouldn't have done that." So, first of all, the family there were conditions for the family in terms of what they could say, could not say. So, otherwise, I would have had alpha material on today, but there was a reason I didn't. And the other reason I did not wear my alpha stuff today, also out of respect to Myeasha, for her to have to sit here and look at the colors and letters, knowing full well what happened to her son. But this is the bullshit I'm talking about. Folk are like, yo, why you got to bring it up? Why you got to do it? Because it needs to be brought up. This brother is dead. Now, if you want me talking about white cops or even black cops killing an unarmed black man, then I'm going to talk about black frats killing an unarmed black man over some bullshit hazing.
We have to, Roland, and you've done this consistently. I think about our fraternity brother, Walter Kimbrough, who I saw a couple of weeks ago, who has written extensively about this, who has been an expert witness in cases about this topic. And yeah, man, how fast time flies as our frat hymn goes. College days swiftly pass. It was 40 years ago. In 2 weeks, it'll be my 40th anniversary having pledged. And I remember, I'm the first in my family to join a Greek letter fraternity. And I didn't join because of anyone who was at Tennessee State. I joined because I looked through the history book one day, and when I saw Martin Luther King and Duke Ellington and Jesse Owens and W.E. Du Bois and Paul Robeson, I said, I want to be part of this. And I think that's the reason why most of us join. And I'll tell you, it's a melancholy moment for me listening to this conversation that you had, because, as you said, listening there to Ms. Kimble and thinking about why I joined, why you joined, why so many people join these sororities and fraternities, and realizing that here in the month of April, this is the season when many folk who are joining will now be revealed. At Howard, that's what they're doing right now. We're getting down to it. People will start coming out, as they say. When you start talking about a bunch of 18 to 22 or 23-year-olds whose brains haven't fully formed, there are so many emotional, psychological games being played. I'm very hesitant these days to write letters of recommendation, depending on the circumstance, because things get very ugly very quick when you're talking about young adults. And unfortunately, that's sororities or fraternities. And I'll tell you, brother, this is a terrible collision between rites of passage, which we as African people began. We are the originators of the idea of coming to maturity and being initiated into the next level of responsibility. That's something very deep in our souls, and the legacy of our captivity, because we did not do those things with a brutality that was injected into our experiences as African people during the period of captivity. And whether it be whipping your children when they're little and then taking pride as an adult that you were whipped, or putting your hands on another man, or as a woman playing a mind game so deep that the child now is maybe emotionally scarred for the rest of her life, this idea of imposing brutality on each other is a deep form of self-hatred. And as you talked about this law, hopefully it will do some good, but I think we both know, and all of us know who have gone through these processes, that there is something very deep and intractable about how Black people approach joining these organizations or any organization that requires pledging. We feel that it's inviolate. We feel like it is our not only responsibility, but something we will protect even when we are wrong. And brother, I don't know how we crack that nut except by doing exactly what you're doing today, which is being candid, honest, open, and unvarnished in taking this head on.
NOLA, or for other members to look one of their own in the eye and say, you are not bringing that bullshit here. You will not touch any one of these folks. And if you do, we gonna deal with you accordingly.
Mm-hmm. You know, I listened to this story, and I'm happy that you cover this topic extensively. When I think about my own journey, you know, everybody know I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, right? I grew up on Xavier University's campus, been in STEM programs since I was literally in the fifth grade. I was on campus with my daddy since I was a little girl. I grew up in HBCU Greek culture, but I went to undergrad at UCLA. So once, you know, I fully accepted that my life was no longer in New Orleans. Okay, I'm in Los Angeles. Things didn't go the way that they were supposed to go. And I got to UCLA. One of the first things that I did was inquire about pledging AKA. But the chapter was suspended for some foolery. And they were like, oh, well, you can go to Cal State, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but I want to pledge here at UCLA, but the AKA chapter was suspended. And I bring that up as I think about Myeasha, and I think about California. And I also went to USC. USC, it seemed like every other week had a situation in the news regarding some sort of hazing, that somebody got hurt, somebody got injured. It was always something. And the culture is very strong there. Less the Black Greek culture, more of the white students. But some of the things that I saw when I was there for grad school, I did not understand. And I didn't understand what would compel students to participate in some of the things that you saw on campus, right? So it's something about the California schools, in my experience, where there's this extra level of, I don't know if it's competition. I don't know. I've never been through the process. But coming from California, I can tell you this is a thing. This is a problem. And I hate that it had to end in this young man's life. And I think it's about time for these institutions to take responsibility. And yes, you should have your brother and your sister's back, right? When you see something that's over the top, when you see something that's beyond humiliating and it's demeaning, you speak up and you say something. There's power in numbers. You speak up and you say something. I can only say my limited experience. I'm not a Black Greek, so I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to criticize it. It's an institution that I hold in high regard.
You ain't got to be in to criticize. If you do stupid shit, you deserve the criticism.
That's right.
I agree, but y'all be coming for people, so I'm just letting y'all know.
No, that's dumbasses who come. That's people. Again, that's the problem that we have with too many of our institutions, Robert. Folk don't want to be checked. People want to, if you go to HBCU, you want to act like non-HBCU folk can't call out your bullshit. Well, the reality is, and this is what I always tell folk, man, well, you shouldn't be airing out dirty laundry. If you don't do dumb shit, then your laundry ain't public. The reality is, when you haze, then all of a sudden the cops are called, it's now public. Hospital records. Then you get, so it's all public. So if you don't want stuff to be public, how about you not break the damn law and do dumb shit? Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, Roland, look, you're completely right. And I had a similar experience to while I was in college. I was online pre-pledging for Omega, and then the chapter got suspended. And they have that conversation and said, well, you can always cross underground. Nah, I'm good. And my message is not to the universities, not to lawmakers, not even to parents. This is a message directly to the young people. If you are a young person who's 17 or 18 or 19 who's listening to this, who's thinking about pledging when you get to college or maybe next semester or two pledging, figure out if that group hazes, and if so, don't pledge. And this will all go away in the course of a couple years if you simply boycott organizations that haze. And I don't care if that's a fraternity or a sorority. I don't care if that is a marching band group or 4-H club. If they haze, don't do it. Have a personal boycott against getting your ass beat to join some organization. Because guess what? There's no tangible benefit to it taking place. They've even calmed the military down because of the culture of hazing that was in place over the course of many generations. The reason they changed it was hurting recruiting. It was hurting readiness. You can't go back to the full metal jacket days of military training. It is very different now before that exact reason. Yep. So I encourage you, don't participate in those groups and organizations. It does not make you a better member of that fraternity. It does not bring you closer to your line brothers or your line sisters. Nope. It does not make you more dedicated to the organization. It is just some people who have something, who have childhood trauma and hurt people, and join this masochistic idea that if I get to injure or psychologically manipulate or beat another person, that strengthens the organization. When in reality, these are supposed to be academic groups bringing in the best and brightest, who's pushing organization going forward.
And of course, also doesn't make any sense if you actually haze somebody, then your chapter gets suspended and kicked off the yard. Now y'all can't even be on the yard. And then you get sued. Now you're costing your fraternity or sorority money. It's all stupid. And you're absolutely right. I've had people call me. I've had people call me who want to pledge, and I told them point blank, don't you let nobody hit you for some letters. And then if there is a brother or a sister who actually was admitted to the fraternity or sorority after hazing was reported, and then folks want to treat them like a scarlet letter was on them, why don't y'all do that to your members who chose to hit and beat somebody? Because trust me, that's what I do. If I find out that you one of them hazing type, I don't talk to you. I don't look at you. And I will cuss your ass out. And if I'm actually in the presence where some pledges are and you attempt to do that, I'm just letting you know right now that the person pledging will not be the one getting their ass whipped. It's going to be you.
Well, this is that point that Jim Jones had made about why fraternities and sororities move like gangs, because in a gang you get jumped in, and there was that whole backlash. How dare Jim Jones say that? I mean, we've talked about in the last 2 months, 2 young black men that are no longer on this planet. Yeah. Right.
Mothers and fathers are grieving because folk want to be stupid. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to offer any grace, or even where somebody told me, well, a little hazing is good. I said, hell no, you wrong as hell too.